afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast Addendum as we take a look at this sort of, thing that's been cropping up lately. I mean, it was before the patch, but also after the patch, it's gotten a bit more pronounced. It's the infantry section and infantry section spam, just rushing out a lot of infantry sections and overrunning your opponent. And the question is, of course, why does this happen? Well, in part because, again, the infantry section is just really tough, really good, but there's only one thing that increasingly sort of struck me as probably being one of the main catalysts of just this infantry section spam, besides just with the patch apparently saying they wanted to make them better outside of cover, which seems a bit counterproductive. But it's basically the bolster infantry squads upgrade. And you might be saying, huh? Or some of you might be saying, aha. Or some are saying, oh. Anyways, the point about the infantry section bolster upgrade is, and I think it's just sort of thing that Archer again just to churn out a lot of sections and then quickly just build them up to an even stronger force, because the infantry sections are themselves again very tough premium infantry, and all of a sudden you can then very quickly, rapidly, without actually paying a huge cost, boost them into 5. I suppose another way to put into context would be, imagine if the Grenadiers could within a short amount of time, again we're looking here, if one player going for 4 sections, and within 4 minutes, maybe within roughly 3 minutes, getting that 4 sections out and then upgrading them right away. I mean, Grenadier spam has reasonably been effective. Of course, might be running some more issues with this now. Like, imagine though if the Grenadiers could get upgraded to a 5-man squad in the early game. How many German players do you think would just go for a lot of Grenadiers and then upgrade them to a 5-man squad right away and just begin to steamroll the enemy? That's sort of the line of thought I'm having here. I'm thinking that the infantry section's bolster ability is way too good at being a tier 0 upgrade, because that's largely what it is, or at least requiring maybe a small take-up, which again is never known for being that expensive. I mean, that just seems to me at least rather a dramatically powerful upgrade to get, because again, like a 5-man infantry section is very difficult to deal with, and of course packs even more of a punch. And of course just allows the infantry section, again, the British, supposedly again the late game faction, to be very strong in the early game as well. So I mean, there's again this sort of bit of a weird design flaw I feel there. You sort of have to wonder, well, what's the point then of the late game if they just get really strong in the early game as well? And I think that's one of the reasons why infantry section spam and just getting a lot of them just punching hard at the opponent, sort of getting very popular, because it's just a very easy to execute strategy, and it's, well, obviously rather powerful. And particularly when they begin adding Bren guns to the section, they begin packing even more firepower. And I think just having the early infantry bolster upgrade there makes it so you just to an extent encourage you to spam a lot there. I mean, most British players don't even bother with the Vickers machine gun, because just bolstering your sections, now again you start play aggressively with this infantry section that's supposed to be good in cover, but doesn't particularly need it. Can just run at the enemy now. As you might notice, in fact, the Grenadier squad, despite being in a relatively secure position, is actually just running away from a bolstered infantry section, because it's not going to have a serious impact on the section before it hits cover, and then the section's just going to beat them silly in most cases. So I think just what needs to happen, I mean, obviously again I think there needs to be sort of overhauls in the British as well, because there's something a bit weird going on there. But I think the bolster infantry squad needs to be made a later late game upgrade. It needs to be accessible where first you get the company command post up, then you can get away with bolstering all of your sections. But right away, that seems excessive, to put it mildly. I mean, another way to put it is, imagine if they're going to just get light machine guns without having to take up. That would be crazy. Yet here we are, and the infantry section can just get 5 men. And it's not exactly a huge cost anyway. It's not, again, we can sort of just push ahead with the section. I mean, 150 manpower and 35 fuel is not particularly big. Not when, the platoon command post is pretty cheap. I mean, again, it's really cheap. In fact, it's cheaper than the bolster upgrade itself. And together, they're not that expensive. Comparatively, going for the Wehrmacht, tier 2 is actually more expensive. So I feel like this is kind of where some of the, things with a bit sort of go wrong. It's that bolster infantry squad. I'm not saying they shouldn't have it at all, but I do think it needs to be moved up a few tiers, so it's not just so readily available, so they know. actually forced to be more initially cautious with the sections, and maybe forced to use the machine guns a bit, forced to use a broader force composition rather than just spamming a lot of sections and just keep running at the enemy, because the enemy can't really on a cost efficient level fight them. So that would at least sort of be my thoughts. Is that would just nerf the section a lot, otherwise allowing then the bolts intersection to sort of be more of a necessary upgrade right away. But that of course just makes it necessary, which creates another series of weaknesses. So rather think the better idea is just to shift it away to a later tier again, like realistically company command post, because as I just mentioned, the platoon command post is not particularly expensive to get. It doesn't even take long to get. So I mean, it has to be the company command post, and then you can sort of aim for it. It's either that or you didn't have to sort of go for one of these two. That wouldn't, well actually that wouldn't even be enough. Like again, that's 100 manpower, 15 fuel. That's not even a stopgap. I mean, it has to be the company command post when you think about it. So of course, just sort of my opinion, because infantry section spam is getting more common, more prevalent, and it's certainly not showing any sort of sign of slowing down, because it's just really good for very obvious reasons. And again, I think part of those reasons anyways just lies in that bolster infantry squads upgrade. I mean, they actually nerfed the re-echelons at some point in terms of veterancy, because they got the their own bolster there quite fast eventually. They actually shift that I think to veterancy 3, because apparently that was too good and they just get it that early. So again, I feel like there's a definite need for the infantry section to have that bolter squad upgrade shifted to tier 3. So because I'm going to just strengthen all your squads, so that feels like a late game upgrade too as well. So I definitely think that's sort of what needs to happen overall primarily. I mean, maybe also just limit the amount of Bren guns they can wield to 1, because 2 is also a bit much. I mean, again, they limited the Grenadiers to 1 light machine gun. You can upgrade, can't even upgrade with G43s on top of that. So there certainly seems to be some different standards being applied here, to put mildly. But again, I would certainly think if they get around to doing another balance patch somehow and decide not to nerf the Wehrmacht more, but actually decide to maybe do something out of the Brits, moving the bolsters upgrade to like the company command post, I think would be a huge step in the right direction, because I think we'll be seeing a lot more infantry section spam just bolstering and just running straight at the enemy until that gets done. So that's sort of my opinion on the matter. Feel free to agree or disagree, but it's certainly a thought I've been having here recently about the infantry section. Again, just overall from sort of a lot of levels and perspectives, I just feel like having a bolter section upgrade early available is a really bad idea. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video, at least agreed with it, had some thoughts on these, maybe just sparked some ideas. If it has, subscribe, like, share, comment on it. And if you like what I do consider pledging or donating. This is Imperial Linking. Cheers, thank you for watching, see you all another time. Bye.